Hey guys, welcome to the video series of data engineering on Microsoft DP 203. Hope you guys are doing well and staying safe. In today's video, we're going to discuss about the surrogate key. In DP 203 exam, there are like 2 or 3 questions on it. That's why we're going to talk about it. And topic for today's video is surrogate key and how to implement it using the identity property. So we will do like a demo for the same in Azure Synapse Analytics. For those who are not aware about what is a surrogate key, here's the definition. It's a system generated key in a sequence, or it could be a GUID too, which have literally no business meaning, but that is used, or it is used to uniquely identify a record in the table. And most of the time when we are creating a surrogate key, it is to create a new primary key, or like it is used as a primary key. And then how different is it from a natural business or a domain key? Basically, like as the definition goes, like we can get a meaning out of it. Like, so natural business or domain key have some business meaning, and they are formed from the attributes that exist in the data. It is not something we added after into our data. So surrogate key is something which we add to our table, while natural and business or domain key are those which exist in the table, and they can be used as a primary key too. So for example, a surrogate key is something a very like a literal sequence of 1 2 3 4 5 which have no meaning related to data, where a natural or business key could be a social security number, or PAN card, Aadhaar card, or a phone number, those kind of things. Okay, let's jump to the implementation of surrogate key using the identity property. Perfect. So for this demo, we, as I mentioned initially, we're using the Azure Synapse Analytics. So I already created the Azure Synapse Analytics workspace and the dedicated SQL pool. So let's first look into what exactly is in the code, and I'm going to provide the link for this code in the description. So don't worry about about the code piece. So if you come from like a SQL background, or like somebody who already worked with the databases and all, you may or may not have seen this, like the identity property. But basically, identity property is something which take 2 parameters. The first parameter is the seed, from seed is basically from where the sequence starts. So in this case, the sequence should start from 1, and increment is like how we want to increment to it. So we want to increment for each row 1 value. So the first row will have like the value for C1 column will be 1, and the second row will be 2, 3, third will be 3. But if we change this to, let's say, 2, so the first column will be 1, second column will be 3, and 5, something like that. That's happened in the SQL world. But with Azure Synapse Analytics, the identity property does not guarantee, let's change it to 1. Yeah, so but with the Azure Synapse Analytics, the identity property does not guarantee the order. And it's not due to the identity property doesn't work properly in Azure Synapse Analytics. Is basically the architecture, as we know that Azure Synapse Analytics is built on top of a distributed architecture. So due to the that architecture constraint, like identity property does not give you the guaranteed order or the sequence. Still, it will be going to be a different value for each row, but not in the specific order. Okay, let's execute this. So here so if you look at this, like the highlighted section is basically we're creating a table named T1 in DBO schema, which have 2 columns. The first column is the surrogate key, which of integer type, and this is the pattern we want to follow. Like it start from 1 and go for and increment by 1. And as I mentioned, it's not going to do the same in Azure Synapse Analytics, but we have to pass these 2 parameters. And second is just a varchar of 30 size. So let's create this table. Okay, the query executed successfully, and after that, if you look, like I'm not passing any, like I'm just inserting null record to both, like null record to both columns, and I'll do the same here. When I say both columns, because like we are not passing anything, so it's we basically adding null record. But if you run this and see the output, so you see, so the column C1, which is the surrogate key, have a number in it, and the second row have another number in it. And as I mentioned, in Azure Synapse Analytics, they won't be in an order. They won't do the exactly which identity property is supposed to do, but still, like they can be used as a primary key because they will be unique. And you can see in C2 there is a null, as we inserted nothing there. The other thing is, like we can explicitly insert value in surrogate key 2, and that can be done by using the identity insert property. So what is needed there, we can see it in the code. Like we need to set this property to on, and after that we can insert to our like columns like these, like whatever value you want. Like in this case we are inserting -1, but you can insert values which you want. But this is this need to be done in very I'll say in rare cases. Like in real world, it's a kind of slippery road, or it's kind of tricky. Like you might insert a value which already exists, and then you won't be, then like surrogate key can't do the primary, like it won't be a primary key, like it won't be able to identify the each record each like unique records in the table basically. So this is like if you have to insert like a very special values, like a negative value and those kind of things, do it. Like I won't recommend to do it on a production server or something, until and unless like you have a use case for it. Okay, let's run the code from here to here. So we basically would be setting the property on, then we inserting records, setting it off, and then doing the selection. Okay, query runs successfully. Let's see what's, so boom, you see we have another record which have like surrogate key value -1, and it's unknown. Like we inserted literally unknown string to it. So this is how we implement the surrogate key using identity property, and the things which I mentioned, like we need to keep in mind from Azure Synapse Analytics perspective. There won't be a guarantee for the order or the sequence. Okay, and with the identity property, we have some limitations too. Let's look into that. So there are some situations where identity property can't be used. So we can't use identity property with a column which is not of integer or big int type, and that's because of the Azure Synapse Analytics distribution architecture too. Because if we don't, let's say if we use a different data type, there is a possibility like all the records will be stored in one particular compute node or storage node, and which will create like a hot partition kind of situation, where like too many records are present in one thing and rest of the or you can say like it will create like skewed data. So more data present in one node, but rest of the node don't have anything. And if you're using the column as a distribution key, you can't use like identity property there too. And when tables are external, in that case too, like identity property can't be used. And there is one more, like I didn't mention here, but like if you want to create a table using CTAS, like create table as there also, you can't use the identity property. However, you can use the property with the select n thing, and in generally select n and create CTAS, they both work in the similar way. But for identity, like you can't use CTAS. So that's all for this video. And as I mentioned, the purpose for this video is to let you know about the surrogate key, and and there are like a couple of questions on this in DP23 exam, so it's good to have some information about it. and it's mainly for those folks who are not coming from a database or data warehouse background. So this video will definitely helps you to get to answer a couple of questions there. So thank you. Stay tuned for the next video. Be safe. Take care.